Ahoy sailors, this is your captain speaking. Welcome to another episode of the Bruise News. We got some cool stuff to talk about today, so let's just hop right into it. I hope everyone's having a good day or night, depending on whatever time you're watching this. So Khabib, he's been saying a lot lately about some cool stuff going on. Okay, I was just checking if you could see the flicker of the light. That's weird. Khabib was talking today about just a couple things. He tends to try to stay out of drama, but it kind of ends up following him a little bit because of the whole controversy with Conor in the first place. But he always has like an opinion on things, and the opinion always falls back to like Russia being the best country, and like he always has like this philosophical outlook that always leads back to some sort of like Russian point of view. I don't know what you would call it. It's not like it's like, I'm not trying to be racist or anything like that, and I'm not saying that he's wrong, but it always ends up being these weird ideologies that kind of don't make any sense. Like, I remember when they were talking shit back and forth, and Conor was saying something about how the Russian people are following him, and Khabib was like, he's like, Ireland has 200 or 20 million people. Russia has 250 million people. Like, it's like it had no relevance to the situation, and it was just some, buff macho like ideology about how Russia is better than Ireland. Now, I mean, in a lot of ways Russia is, but in a lot of ways Russia isn't at the same time. But that's life, that's just the way that stuff goes. And not that this really has anything to do with what was being said, but it was just one of those things where, again, he was shoving kind of his opinion in people's faces when he really didn't have a valid opinion on it. But I will point at something he did have a valid opinion on, and that was that he said that Tony Ferguson should be the next person fighting for the title after Poirier. Now, I don't like the idea of people looking past fighters, and I don't think that Poirier stands much of a chance against Khabib in this fight, just because I believe that Poirier isn't a person who really has the capabilities of beating a guy like Khabib. I think that what's going to beat Khabib is tenacity, cardio, and then being really, really good at one specific outlet of fighting. And I think that Poirier is more of a jack of all trades. He's good at everything. In fact, you could even say that he's great at everything, but I don't think that he's the best when I think about it. And I think that when Khabib loses, he will lose to somebody you'll be able to say, wow, he really is the best in the world. And I don't think that Poirier is that guy that fits that sort of, outlook of him. And another thing I was thinking about today is I don't know why Poirier isn't moving down to featherweight to fight against Max Holloway. It's probably weight cut, and the weight cuts are probably hard on Poirier now that he's moved up, and he probably feels a lot better. But he just beat Max in a 5-round fight that was pretty close, but he still beat him, and Max is the featherweight champion. So Poirier used to fight down there, and yeah, maybe the weight cuts are a little bit bad, but I think that would be an option for him. So going along back to what I was saying before, he had also said that he thinks that Poirier is better than Conor McGregor, and he has zero interest for Conor McGregor because he believes that the rivalry is done, and if he reopens it, it's going to end with someone being in jail, whether or not that's him, his friends, or Conor McGregor. We all know that Conor should probably be in jail already. He's kind of dodged it a few times, but the guy is definitely going through some sort of crisis. Going back to saying about how Poirier is better than McGregor is an interesting thing entirely, because I think that there's truth to that statement, but I think there isn't. I think that Conor McGregor, at the moment, even with the 3-year layoff that he's had, or no, couldn't possibly be 3 years. It's only a year, okay? But before that, it was a long time. In the layoff that he's had, I still think that he is the best pure striker in the UFC. Maybe not in kicking, but punching 100%. I don't think that anybody has better hands than Conor right now. His hands are absolutely just devastating. If you want to see somebody just absolutely obliterate somebody standing, you can watch the Eddie Alvarez versus Conor McGregor fight. Eddie Alvarez is a good fighter, and Conor made him look very bad. And it's not that Conor hasn't done that to a lot of guys, it's just that Eddie is good standing up. He's good enough to tango with a lot of the other good fighters standing, and Conor absolutely ran through him and made him look like an amateur in terms of skill. But Poirier, again, I said he's great at everything. So I think in a lot of ways that you could look at that. Yeah, Poirier is a better MMA fighter than Conor is, but better striker? No. Definitely a better grappler, definitely a better wrestler. So yeah, in one aspect he's definitely better, and one he's not. I would say it's comparable. Something you also have to look at, though, is that Poirier actually lost to McGregor. He lost a fight against McGregor, and I think it was like a minute and 12 seconds. Maybe it was less than that. Maybe it was 49 seconds. So you have to look at that. I don't think that a short fight like that, where you land one or two punches, means much. Poirier got clipped in the back of the head, and they didn't really have a fight. So we don't really know if the fight, progressed any further, how that would have looked. But the records state that McGregor has beaten Poirier, and you can't really argue with that. So far at the moment, you could easily make the argument that Conor McGregor is better. Another cool thing that happened is Anthony Johnson just made a couple comments. He was talking to an MMA Forum magazine, and they had pictures of Anthony Johnson, and he's been working on powerlifting and bodybuilding, and the dude is huge. If you open up Google after this video, or even right now quickly if you want to go check it out, and you go look up how Anthony Johnson looks right now, he's 285 pounds. He's absolutely jacked. And I don't know if you remember or how long you've been watching, but Anthony actually used to fight at 170 pounds. So the fact that he's 285, pure muscle, gigantic right now, and he's talking about a UFC heavyweight return is just absolutely bonkers, because Anthony Johnson is a great fighter. He's a good wrestler, and he has awesome knockout power, and his hands are insane. I could only imagine how good he'd be at heavyweight. I would love to see him make a return, maybe against Ngannou or something like that, just to kind of showcase, because I've never seen Anthony Johnson get finished standing like that. He's always had a pretty good chin, so that would be an interesting fight to make if he does decide to make a return. Also, Tyron Woodley was actually talking about joining the Diaz camp and moving away from American Top Team. I think that's where Woodley is. I think that would be a good move for Woodley, because I think that he needs to maybe have a better game off his back, work on the whizzer a little bit, being able to stand up. Plus, the Diaz brothers have that really smooth way of striking, and with the power that Tyron has in his hands, being able to kind of lay back and be able to use your power more effectively by throwing more winged punches and outside punches, looping punches, instead of just power shots constantly, short power shots might be more effective for his striking style. Because when you watch Woodley, he's very in and out, and he likes to rush attacks. So, he'll kind of stay back a little bit, wait for you, and then he'll blitz forward, throwing just absolute haymakers. That does work for him, and it's worked for him in the past. He's knocked out Robbie Lawler. So, I mean, it does work for a guy like him, but it would be more effective if he had a striking repertoire that was more effective for his strength, because he's always going to have that power with how his muscle mass is. Lastly, I know that in the last video I kind of went off about weight cutting a little bit. I've done it a bunch of times before, and now the UFC is actually starting to take some initiative into forcing people to watch how they're weight cutting. So Paulo Costa recently, we were talking about his result against Yoel Romero fighting at middleweight. Everybody's been sort of thinking that Paulo Costa has been using steroids. Same with Yoel Romero. Yoel has actually been hit for steroid use in the past. Everybody sort of thought that Costa was using steroids, but it turns out that they've tested him they tested him a lot, and he's passed so far, but they're running another bunch of negatives to see if something will come up in his system, because he had a really significant bounce back in weight the day of the fight, and he's actually been banned from middleweight fighting until they have run a thorough investigation by the CSAC. So, Paulo Costa on weigh-in day, he weighed in at 185 pounds. The next day, he gained 14.9 pounds back, putting him at 199.9 pounds, which is insane. And usually, you can't do that without using something like an IV bag or, something to hydrate you very well. Unless they have some sort of method, they're using a banned method. Unless they have some sort of secret method that nobody knows about, people are speculating that they're using a banned method, because there's no way to physically gain that much weight back, even if you chug bottles of water, even if you cut a cut a vein open in your arm and stuck a bottle of water in there. There's no way to get that water back in your system, that water weight back that fast without using a banned method. So he's been banned for the time being until they investigate it. For me, I've said that before, where I think that there should be a weight cut limit within 5 pounds, give or take, on each side to fight at that weight class. I think that it's more effective for everybody. You would see healthier fighters, you would see stronger fighters. Everybody would just benefit from having those sort of weight cuts be banned like that, because gaining back 14 pounds on fight day and just feeling like an absolute bag of gold is not fair compared to somebody who's 43, and their body can't, bounce back like that. Like, Paulo Costa's 28 years old, Yoel Romero's 43. You could argue that, Yoel, if he wants to fight, are the sort of holes that he's gonna, or hoops rather, that he has to jump through. Well, yeah, you make a good point, but it's a sport, and the way that the sport goes is that everybody needs to be on an even playing field when the fight happens. Yes, I know that sometimes that shit isn't fair, and it can be unfair. But the point is that when people are fighting, they're supposed to be on an even playing field, and the only way to make that happen is to effectively make sure that everybody's weight cutting the same way, everybody's using the same nutrition, everybody's using the same workout methods. And I know that people's bodies are different and they react differently, but there needs to be some sort of method that puts people in some sort of line that can work more effectively. That's about everything for today. I hope that everybody liked the episode. It was an interesting episode. I'm really enjoying doing these, and I'm trying to pump these out and make them a little bit better. I'm looking into some different things. I know I've said that before, but things are changing and things are happening, and I'm doing what I can. I appreciate everybody who watches this video. If we can get lots of thumbs up on it, we can get lots of shares on it, and lots of subs, that would be fantastic. One day I want to just open up my YouTube channel and just have like 100 subscribers. That'd be fantastic if it happened in a day or something. Anyways, I hope that everyone has a good one, and I hope to see you all soon. Thanks.